The champagne flute slipped from Marcus Chen's fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the Grand Celestial Hotel ballroom. Time stopped. His breath caught somewhere between his lungs and his throat as his eyes locked with hers across the glittering crowd of Seattle's elite. She stood there, radiant in emerald silk, her auburn hair cascading over bare shoulders, laughing at something a silver-haired investor was saying. But it wasn't her beauty that stole the oxygen from his lungs. It was the impossibility of her presence, the ghost of a past he'd buried 6 years ago suddenly made flesh. Olivia Hart, the woman who'd left him standing at the altar. The woman who'd disappeared without explanation, taking with her every dream he'd dared to build. And now she was here, in his city, at a charity gala he'd been strong-armed into attending by his 5-year-old daughter Emma, who insisted, "Daddy needs to meet people who aren't just Emma." Marcus forced air back into his lungs, his hand instinctively reaching for his phone to call his sister and check on Emma. The familiar weight of fatherhood steadied him, reminded him who he was now. Not the heartbroken architect she'd left behind, but a man who'd learned that love came in smaller, purer forms, in sticky kisses and bedtime stories, in tiny hands that trusted him completely. "Mr. Chen," a voice cut through his paralysis. He turned to find Jonathan Westbrook, the billionaire tech mogul whose empire had reshaped the Pacific Northwest, standing beside him with an amused smile. "I've been trying to get your attention for the last minute. Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I might have," Marcus muttered, then caught himself. "I'm sorry, Mr. Westbrook. You were saying." Westbrook's sharp blue eyes followed Marcus's gaze across the room, landing on Olivia. Something flickered in his expression, something that made Marcus's stomach tighten. "Ah," Westbrook said softly, and there was a weight to that single syllable. "So you've noticed her too." Before Marcus could respond, Westbrook placed a hand on his shoulder, steering him away from the crowd toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. The older man's grip was firm but not unkind, and Marcus found himself following, curiosity overriding his instinct to flee. "Let me tell you something about ghosts, Marcus," Westbrook began, and the use of his first name felt both presumptuous and oddly intimate. "I've spent the last 3 years hunting one. A woman I met briefly at a conference in Boston, someone who listened to my ideas when I was nobody, who believed in me before anyone else did. I built my empire thinking that if I became successful enough, powerful enough, I'd find her again. I'd make her see that I was worth her time." Marcus's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, Mr. Westbrook, I'm not interested in." "She's my chief innovation officer," Westbrook interrupted, nodding toward Olivia. "Started 3 months ago. Brilliant mind, revolutionary ideas about sustainable architecture and urban development. But here's the thing, Marcus. Tonight, I was going to tell her what I've wanted to say since the moment I hired her. Tonight, I'll make you mine. I was going to offer her everything, partnership, position, my heart if she'd have it. But then I watched her face when you walked in." Marcus's world tilted. "What?" She went white as a sheet, nearly dropped her drink. "Spent the last 20 minutes pretending to be engaged in conversation while her eyes keep finding you." Westbrook's smile was sad, knowing. "I didn't become successful by ignoring data, Mr. Chen, and the data tells me that whatever exists between you two isn't finished. So I'm going to do something that goes against every competitive instinct I have. I'm going to walk away." "I don't understand," Marcus said, his mind reeling. "Why are you telling me this?" Westbrook's expression grew serious, his gaze distant. "Because 5 years ago, I was so focused on building my empire that I missed my daughter's 5th birthday. I was in Tokyo closing a deal that would make me millions, and I missed the moment she blew out her candles. My ex-wife sent me a video, and you know what I saw in my little girl's eyes? Disappointment, not anger, not sadness, just this quiet acceptance that daddy's work was more important than she was." His voice cracked slightly. "She's 10 now, and we're still rebuilding what I broke. So when I see a man who looks at a woman the way you looked at her, and then immediately reaches for his phone to check on his child, I recognize someone who's figured out what really matters." Marcus felt his throat constrict. "How did you know you're a father?" "I make it my business to know about the architects I'm considering for my new sustainable housing project." Marcus Chen, 32, single father to Emma Chen, age 5. Award-winning architect who turned down a partnership at Miller & Associates to stay close to his daughter. The man who leaves every meeting by 5:30 without fail, who brings his daughter's artwork to job sites, who rebuilt his entire life around being present. Westbrook extended his hand. That's the kind of man I want designing homes for families. And that's the kind of man who deserves a second chance at happiness, if he wants it. Before Marcus could respond, Olivia was there, having crossed the room with purposeful strides. Up close, she was even more beautiful than he remembered, but there were shadows under her eyes, a weariness that hadn't been there before. "Jonathan," she said, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly. "I need to speak with Mr. Chen, privately." Westbrook nodded, squeezing Marcus's shoulder once before walking away. "Remember what I said, Chen. About second chances." The silence between them stretched like glass ready to shatter. Finally, Olivia spoke, her words barely above a whisper. "You have every right to hate me." "I don't hate you," Marcus said, and was surprised to find it was true. "I did, for a while. But hate requires energy I couldn't spare. I had a daughter to raise." Olivia's eyes widened. "You have a daughter, Emma. She's 5. She's with my sister tonight, probably convincing her to let her stay up past bedtime by deploying strategic cuteness." Despite everything, Marcus smiled. "She's the best thing that ever happened to me." "I'm glad," Olivia said, and there was genuine warmth in her voice. "You always wanted to be a father. You used to talk about teaching your kids to build things, to see the world as something they could shape and improve. What happened, Liv?" The question came out rougher than he intended. "Why did you leave?" She took a shaky breath, looking away. "My mother was dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. She'd hidden it from me for months because she didn't want to worry me, didn't want to ruin my happiness. But the week before our wedding, she collapsed. The doctors gave her weeks, maybe days." Tears spilled down her cheeks, and Marcus felt his anger crumbling. "She made me promise not to tell you, not to ruin your life by tying you to someone who was about to lose everything. She said you deserved a wife who could give you her whole heart, not someone drowning in grief. That wasn't your choice to make alone," Marcus said, but his voice was gentle now. "I know. God, Marcus, I know. But I was 26 and terrified and watching my mother die. So I ran. I took her to her childhood home in Maine and I stayed with her until the end. 3 months. Then I spent the next years trying to rebuild myself, going back to school, throwing myself into work, anything to avoid facing what I'd done to you." She looked up at him, her green eyes swimming with remorse. "I wrote you so many letters. Never sent any of them. What could I say that would make it right?" Marcus felt the last of his defenses cracking. "You could have said goodbye. You could have let me be there for you. I would have postponed the wedding, would have held your hand through it all. Instead, you left me thinking I'd done something wrong, that I wasn't enough. You were everything," Olivia said fiercely. "You were so much that I couldn't bear the thought of watching you sacrifice your dreams for my nightmare. You had that internship in Tokyo, the chance to study under Tanaka. I couldn't ask you to give that up. I gave it up anyway," Marcus said quietly. "After you left, I couldn't focus on anything. Then I met Sarah, Emma's mother. She was a client, a widow who needed her house redesigned after her husband died. We bonded over grief, over trying to rebuild. It wasn't love, not the way it was with you, but it was real and good in its own way." He paused, the memory still painful even after all these years. "She died in childbirth, complications nobody saw coming, so I became a single father at 27, learning to change diapers and mix formula while running an architecture firm from my home office. Marcus, I'm so sorry." Olivia reached for his hand, then hesitated. He took hers, the contact electric and familiar. "Don't be. Emma saved me. Every time I wanted to give up, there she was, needing me. Depending on me, teaching me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up, every single day, even when you're exhausted and terrified and have no idea what you're doing." They stood there in the corner of the ballroom, hands clasped, the party swirling around them like they were the still center of a storm. Finally, Olivia spoke again. "Jonathan offered me everything tonight. Not just a job, but his heart. He's kind and brilliant and successful beyond measure." "I know," Marcus said. He said, "Tonight, I'll make you mine." He was planning to sweep you off your feet. "But I don't love him," Olivia said simply. "I respect him, admire him even. But when I saw you walk in tonight, I couldn't breathe." 6 years, Marcus, and you still make me forget how to breathe." Marcus felt his own breath catch again, felt the weight of possibility settling over them. "I have a daughter, Liv. She comes first, always. Anyone in my life has to understand that. I know, and I wouldn't want it any other way." She squeezed his hand. Can I meet her? Not tonight, not tomorrow, but when you're ready. I'm not asking to replace her mother or to rush into anything. I'm just asking for a chance to know the most important person in your world. Marcus thought about Emma, about her fierce little heart and her insistence that people deserved second chances. Just last week, she'd forgiven a classmate who'd knocked over her block castle, saying, maybe he just had a bad day, Daddy. People make mistakes. His daughter, 5 years old and already wiser than he'd been at 30. I need time, he said honestly. I need to figure out if I can trust you again, if we can build something real or if we're just chasing ghosts of who we used to be. I understand. I'll wait as long as it takes. But, Marcus continued, feeling a smile tug at his lips despite everything, Emma has been on my case about making new friends. And she's very persuasive, so maybe we could start there. Coffee, during Emma's dance class on Saturday afternoons. Just talking, getting to know each other again. I'd like that, Olivia said, her face lighting up with hope. Across the room, Jonathan Westbrook watched them with a mixture of melancholy and satisfaction. He caught Marcus's eye and raised his glass in a small salute, a gesture of respect between two men who understood what mattered. The weeks that followed were careful, tentative, like learning to walk on ice. Marcus and Olivia met for coffee, then for walks in the park while Emma played. Olivia learned about Emma's love of dinosaurs and building blocks, about her fear of thunderstorms and her insistence on wearing her princess dress to the grocery store. Marcus learned about Olivia's work in sustainable design, her volunteer work with a hospice center, the way she transformed her grief into purpose. Emma, with the uncanny intuition of children, seemed to sense something important about Olivia. After their third meeting, as Marcus was tucking her in, she looked up at him with serious eyes. Daddy, is Miss Olivia the one who made you sad before I was born? Marcus froze, unsure how to answer. What makes you think that, sweetheart? Because you look at her the way you look at Mommy's picture. Like you're happy and sad at the same time. Emma touched his cheek with her small hand. It's okay to be both, Daddy. You told me that feelings can be complicated. They can be, Marcus agreed, his heart swelling with love for this incredible little person. Miss Olivia and I knew each other a long time ago, and some things happened that hurt both of us. We're trying to figure out if we can be friends again. I think you should, Emma said decisively. She's nice. And she laughed at my dinosaur joke. The one about the T-Rex not being able to clap. Nobody laughs at that joke, Daddy. She's a keeper. Marcus laughed, pulling her close. High praise indeed. But you know that you're my number one, right? Always. I know, Daddy. But there's room for more love. Love doesn't run out. It just gets bigger. She yawned, snuggling into her pillow. That's what Aunt Jenny says. His sister was right, Marcus realized. Love didn't run out. It expanded, evolved, made room for new people and new possibilities while honoring what had come before. 3 months after the gala, Marcus invited Olivia to Emma's school art show. Emma had created a building out of recycled materials, a wonky but charming structure she called, a house for everyone. As they stood admiring it, Emma between them holding both their hands, Marcus felt something shift into place. It's beautiful, Olivia said softly. Tell me about it. Well, Emma began, her voice taking on the serious tone she used when explaining important things. It has big windows so people can see each other, and lots of doors so everyone can come in. And see this part, she pointed to a section made of bottle caps. That's the sorry room, for when people make mistakes and need to say they're sorry and really mean it. Olivia knelt down to Emma's level, tears in her eyes. That's very wise. Everyone needs a sorry room sometimes. Did you use yours with my daddy? Emma asked with the directness of childhood. I did, Olivia said, meeting Marcus's gaze. And I meant it with my whole heart. Good, Emma said, satisfied. Because daddy's the best, and he deserves people who mean it. That night, after Emma was asleep, Marcus and Olivia sat on his porch, the Seattle skyline glittering in the distance. She's extraordinary, Olivia said. You've done an amazing job raising her. We've done it together, Em and me. She taught me as much as I taught her. He turned to look at Olivia, really look at her. I think I'm ready. Ready for what? To stop being careful. To stop treating this like it might shatter at any moment. He took her hand. I'm ready to try again. Not to recreate what we had before, but to build something new. Something that includes all the ways we've grown and changed and been broken and healed. Olivia smiled, radiant in the porch light. I'm ready too. In Marcus, I'm not going anywhere this time. Whatever comes, we face it together. They kissed then, soft and tentative and full of promise, the taste of second chances sweet between them. 6 months later, Jonathan Westbrook stood as best man at their small, intimate wedding in Marcus's backyard. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, insisting that she needed 2 jobs because she was very responsible. In his toast, Westbrook raised his glass with genuine warmth. I once told Marcus that tonight I'd make her mine, he said, nodding toward Olivia. I was wrong, not because I didn't mean it, but because she was never mine to claim. Some people are meant for each other in ways that transcend timing and circumstance. Marcus and Olivia found each other, lost each other, and found their way back. That's not luck, that's love. He looked at Emma, perched on her father's knee. And this little architect taught us all that the strongest buildings aren't made of steel and stone, but of forgiveness, second chances, and the courage to keep building even after everything falls apart. As the evening faded into night, Marcus held his daughter on one side and his wife on the other, surrounded by the people who'd helped them all become a family. He thought about the man he'd been 6 years ago, broken and lost, and the man he was now, whole in ways he'd never imagined possible. Emma had been right. Love didn't run out, it just kept growing, making room for everyone who mattered, building homes in hearts that had learned that the strongest foundations were made not of perfection, but of showing up, day after day, ready to try again. And in the end, that was the only thing that truly made you someone's. Not possession or proclamation, but presence. Not tonight, but every night, and all the nights to come.